Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. So today is day one of my 25 days of Christmas. So each day from the 1st of December to the 25th of December, I'm going to be releasing a new video and it's going to be cards and sort of other Christmassy projects as well. So hopefully there'll be something for everyone, especially if you've got any of those last makes to complete. So I'm really excited to do this 25 days of Christmas. I've never done anything like this on my channel before. And I know a lot of people do 12 days of Christmas, but I am really going to be challenging myself here and doing the 25 days. So let's get into today, the first day, day one, and we're going to be doing a really lovely DL sized card here, and we're going to have this really simple background. We've got a little bit of ink blending today, we've got some Copic colouring as well, and we're going to be using a stamp set that I did purchase last year. So if I can still find a link to the website that I purchased it from, I'll leave it in the description box down below for you, so you can still check that out. But yeah, let's get into day one of our 25 days of Christmas. This is the stamp set I'm using. This is called Special Delivery by Creative Expressions, and you've got some really lovely, cute images in here. The main, obviously, focal point of this stamp set is the train and the carts that it's pulling. For this DL size card, I managed to get three elements on here, being the front of the train and then two of the carts, and then I also had a little bit of space and stamped this really adorable little signpost as well. So I stamped this on to some Nina cardstock because that's perfect for using with alcohol markers, and I inked it up with some Memento ink as well, again so it doesn't bleed when we do our colouring. I'm also using my stamping platform. You really don't have to do this, but because this was the first time I used this stamp set, I wanted to make sure that I got a really great impression. So using a stamping platform is good for that because you can very easily double stamp. So for this, I'm using a combination of my Copic sketch markers and my Tri-Blend markers. I really limited my colour palette here because you really can go wild with this, but I really wanted to just kind of get back into the colouring and spend more time being able to colour than actually picking the colours I was going to use, because it can get a little bit overwhelming. So I used the packaging. There is coloured images on the packaging. I used that as my inspiration. So I stuck with the red, the sort of yellowy gold, green, and I added a little bit of purple for just a little bit of variety there. But this is super sped up. Obviously I didn't color this this fast. It would be lovely if I could, but I really enjoyed it. I haven't done a lot of coloring recently, certainly not on my channel here, and it was nice just to sit, play something in the background, and yeah, just sort of get into the coloring. So this did take me a little while, but I definitely think it was worth it. Mix them with our super simple background. I think this turned out to be a really great card, and a great card for our first day of our 25 days of Christmas. So now I've got all of my pieces coloured. I was going to cut these out on my scan and cut machine, but I decided just to fussy cut them. And before we can really get anything down, we are going to go ahead and create our background. So I got a piece of 300 GSM cardstock that I'm going to do some ink blending on. And I pulled out what turns out to be three colours of Distress Oxide. So you can see I've only got two here, but I was hoping to blend them a little bit better, but to go from tumbled glass into chipped sapphire was a little difficult, a little harder than I thought it was going to be. So I do bring in a little bit of salty ocean as well. So we're just going to do the darker colour, being the chipped sapphire near the top. You don't really see it too much on the sides. We're going to have the salty ocean in the middle and then coming down into our tumbled glass. Now what I wanted to do was have a white portion at the bottom of this to make it look like the snow of the ground. So you can make kind of a snowbank and things like that. I could have done that. I could have done more of the ground, but again, because I spent so much time colouring, I wanted to make sure that this background was slightly more simple. So what you need to do is, if you are going to be die cutting this, or if you have got a specific shape or width that you need to kind of stick to, especially if you're having white in there as well, where you're going to blend down to, then I'd recommend just keeping track of where you want to keep that colour, because I wanted to have that white but also that really nice gradient effect as well. You can see I kind of abandoned that first attempt, so I wanted to keep that in there just to show that, you know, you do really need to think about where you're putting your colour beforehand so you really can get the effect that you want. So you've seen that I just used, that's the largest stitched DL nesting die that I've got. I just put that on the page. I drew a faint pencil line just underneath it. And I came up with my tumbled glass. I came up like a quarter of the way up, so I had the white at the bottom. I then blended that into the Salty Ocean and then into the Chipped Sapphire. So, you know, we don't always get it right the first time round, but I sort of just went in and started ink blending and didn't really think about it. Again, what I would suggest is make sure you know the area of the card that you're going to be cutting out, and kind of stick to that area and work out, yeah, where you want the colour to actually sit. That means you're going to do it how you want it to be the first time around. So that's my ink blending, and now we're going to add this stencil. This is just a snowflake stencil from Card Making Magic, so I'll link that in the description box down below. And I'm using that tumbled glass just to go over the top. You're going to see it obviously more on the Chipped Sapphire, but you do get a little bit of hints of it nearer the bottom as well, and it's just going to add that nice Christmassy feel. And then to carry on that Christmassy feeling, we're going to add a little bit of shimmer to this. So in this little bottle, it's a little mister bottle I've got from Spectrum Noir. This has got water and a little bit of Perfect Pearls or the Cosmic Shimmer. I can't remember which one it is. It's very subtle. You don't really notice it until the end. So when I looked at it at the light, I didn't really think it had done much. You of course get that effect of the water droplets because this is a water reactive ink, but you do also get that really lovely all over kind of shimmer to it without it being kind of too much. So this did turn out really nicely. And with the snowflakes, again, very, very sort of festive or wintry. So I die cut that then with the stitched DL nesting dies from Creative Craft Expressions. And because I had inked on the back of this, I wanted to make sure that this sat flat. So I decided to use some double-sided tape, which you can see still didn't really stick to the back of this piece. So I'm going to add a little bit of liquid glue to the back of this as well, just to make sure that it does stick. Because I'd ended up ink blending both sides and added a little bit of water, it did make it I don't say not as strong, but you know, it definitely was slightly on the thinner side. So definitely using something like a double-sided tape is going to make sure that it sticks down really nicely. So now we've done our background, we've assembled our card, we can add our decoration to the front. So for the little signpost there, I just glued it straight down onto our background, but I wanted to add some dimension because we don't have dimension kind of anywhere else. I decided to add it to our little train and the carts. So I'm making sure that I've got some good coverage of the foam circles here. These foam circles are from Amazon and you can get a really decent pack here. Again, I will try to link those if they are still available in the description box down below. And then we're just going to line it up. So I want to make sure that they are all together, but we've got a really nice kind of spacing on here as well. So I just used the little bits of the actual stamp itself, so you can kind of line these up. It does make it a lot closer together, but I thought it was nice just to make it look like it was connected. So we have, you know, Santa there pulling all of the presents and a really cute giraffe in there as well. So that's our main card really finished. We're just going to add a sentiment onto here. So there's a few in here. I decided to go with Christmas hugs because I wanted to have it in a strip up in that right hand corner. So this was the one that I thought would work best. I got a piece of black cardstock like you can see here. We're going to do a little bit of heat embossing. So I'm just going to use some white embossing powder and then of course our anti-static powder tool first of all to make sure that that white embossing powder doesn't stick to the black cardstock, which it does have a little bit of a tendency to do. So if you find you get that as an issue, then definitely invest in an anti-static powder tool, the bag or something like this. This one is EK Tools and that will definitely help. So we're going to pour on our embossing powder, knock off the excess, return that to the pot because you don't want to waste that. And I'm going to melt this with my heat tool. So this cardstock here, I'm not sure where it's from, I'm not sure whose card it is, but this has a white core to it. I don't mind necessarily, but just keep that in mind. You can get some cardstocks that are white core, not solid core. So when you cut this, you do see the white on those edges. So I'm going to cut this into a strip and I've left it slightly longer on the right hand side, and then I just cut it on an angle on that left hand side so it can come in, like I said, in that top right, just to kind of anchor it back to the card. I thought it was kind of nice up there. Plus I did have one extra detail that I wanted to add, which is why then I left that area above the Santa and the train free of anything, because I wanted to add some Nuvo drops to make it look like there was something coming out of that little chimney on the train. So I took some Nuvo drops. These are the Morning Dew, these dry clear, and I just did 5 of them in different sizes coming up. So these are a little bit not as crystal clear when they are wet, but when they dry clear. The one thing you want to be careful with is adding Nuvo drops to a Distress Oxide background or any background that's got water reactive inks on it, because it can react with that ink a little bit, and it adds just a couple of like little rings and halos around the drops. But that is the finished card. So a super kind of easy card really to start off this Christmas series with, but I really loved how it turned out. Again, that colouring, it was nice just to sit down and colour, and then the rest of the card was pretty basic, but I love little cutesy cartoony cards like this. I think they are so adorable. So that is going to be it for today's video. This is day number 1 of 25 days of Christmas. Hit that thumbs up button to help support my channel, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on the next videos that are going to be posted here on my channel. So with that, that's going to be it for today's video. Thanks very much for watching, and Merry Christmas.